Hello, diary. The virus is now in my department. Oh, saying that's giving me chills. So let's talk about it. So the coronavirus is now in my department. It's in my department. It's it does not discriminate. Everybody has been, well, almost everyone has been affected by it. A lot of the staff have had it, from clinical to non-clinical staff. Everyone, all the way up to upper management. I mean, our manager, overall manager of our department, of the radiotherapy department, has had it. Superintendents have had it. I mean, you name it. A lot of people are off sick, and it's not pretty. It's a bit scary, to say the least. For a while, my town or city or whatever this place is, we've been on tier 1. If you don't know what tier 1 is, I can't explain it. I can't catch up with all these tiers. 1 minute we are in tier 1, tier 2, tier this. Anyway, we were in tier 1. As far as I'm concerned, that was one of the lowest tiers. And it used to be tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 1 is the lowest, tier 2, and then tier 3, and all these different tiers have different restrictions. The higher your tier, the more restrictions that you have. So we were in tier 1 and we were chilling, thinking, oh, we're all okay. And then the second lockdown, tier 4. What? I couldn't even catch up with tier 3 rules, and now we're in tier 4. I don't know, and total lockdown. Anyway, oh, I don't even know where to start. I've had to pause and get a cup of tea because I'm cold. And also because I don't know where to begin. I don't know anything. I really just don't know. But can begin anywhere, can't we? So on the 24th, I believe that was a Thursday, 24th of December 2020, we worked, and 25th, which was Christmas Day, of course, we don't work on Christmas Day. And then there was the weekend, which was 26th and 27th, we were off. And then 28th, there was a skeleton staff to treat patients who cannot have more than 2 days break from their treatment. And then I returned to work on the 29th. On the 29th, when I returned to work, we were short of staff. A lot of the staff have had have tested positive for COVID, and therefore cannot come in. So we were really short of staff. It was manic in the place. The chemotherapy department were also short of staff. It was crazy. It was really crazy. I mean, the rate at which it happened, like all of a sudden, the whole place, everyone got overwhelmed, the hospital, and then even some of the private hospitals around are all full with COVID patients. Apart from that, there were a lot of their staff were off sick with COVID. And yeah, it was scary. So anyway, so we just, well, we just had to make do, and we were so short of staff that we had to literally start preparing the patients to go elsewhere. So we have other departments in the neighboring towns. So what we did was to speak with the patients and find out who is able to go where for treatment, go to the other department for treatment, because the other departments were bigger, even though they also have had the outbreak there. I mean, they had more staff than we did, and they could cope and manage with the extra patients. So we had to speak with the patients, and with the agreements, the ones who are able to manage the 40 to 50 minutes drive, we booked them to the other department, and they had to go for their treatment there. Those who were not able to, we kept, so the few of us in the department could treat them. Before all this, we had bubbles, so we worked in bubbles. What we did was we come into work and you're working with the same people all the time, so that we're not mixing, you know, just that. This is just to avoid this kind of outbreak. If somebody gets it, you know, it's in that bubble, and that bubble is contained either, you know. Yeah, so we had our bubbles, but now we've had all these people off, and from different bubbles. So now each bubble has less people to work. So we had to literally break our bubbles, or should I say burst our bubbles, and just do what we have to do to make sure we take care of our patients and ourselves as well. So during that week, week beginning is the 28th of December, we slowly, so on by the Wednesday, we've managed to send most of our patients to the other sites, and we have enough that we could manage, and that's what we did. And one of my colleague, who happened to be actually in my bubble, original bubble, he came in, and that week he kept complaining that, you know, he's been having like sleepless nights. He's really aching, you know, he's got body aches, as well as he's fatigued, he's not able to sleep, he's sweating at night, he's getting hot flashes. I was actually teasing him that he's got menopause. I mean, he's a man, so of course not. So yeah, so I mean, those were the symptoms he was having. He was not coughing, he was normal, everything was okay, but he was just having all these aches and fatigue, plus he's not able to sleep. So he was supposed to be off the following week, and he was living on he was living in the hospital premises. So the plan was that on that Friday after work, he had already booked the holiday for the following week, so he can make his way to his family, which is about 3 hours drive away. So yeah, but then again, anyway, he couldn't have done that trip because, of course, just before the Christmas we had the second lockdown, which meant that you could not travel. So he couldn't go anyway. But he was worried, and he kept asking. He would keep saying, I mean, he kept testing with the what's it called, with the lateral flow test, and he kept getting negative results. So on the Friday, he was quite insistent. He was like, look, I really need to, and you know, everybody was suspicious that maybe he could, you know, there's a possibility he does have COVID. So he was booked in to have the PCR test, and which he did, and that came back positive. So actually 2 of them booked the it was him and one of the other ladies in our bubble. They went for the PCR test and they tested positive. So I think they had a test on the Friday, and the result came on the Saturday, and we have a group chat, and then they informed us of what has happened. So now everybody has was worried. So the Monday when we all got in, was it the Monday? Yeah, the following Monday when we all got into work, even though the hospital does get, I mean, we do get deep clean almost every evening, not almost, every evening. The whole place was gutted out. I mean, and when I say gutted out, I couldn't even get soap to wash my hands. We got in there, and the cleaners have done such a wonderful job, but they forgot to put everything back, which is okay. Everything was put back eventually anyway, but we all had to have a PCR test, just to make sure that everybody is negative, because the last thing we want to do is to transmit it to each other or to the patients. So we all line up, we all had the swab done, and then it was all taken to our colleagues in the lab to check. Now the thing with you know, because we have these 2 tests, you have the PCR test, and then you have the lateral flow test. Now the PCR test uses RNA to detect the presence of the COVID-19, whereas the lateral flow uses the protein on the outer part of the virus to detect the presence of the virus. We all know, or we're aware, that the lateral flow test can give false negative, but it was a bit worrying to see that 2 people continuously testing every day and getting a negative test, whereas when they took the PCR test, it came back positive. So, you know, that's a bit worrying. Also, my colleague, he was presenting symptoms, and once a person is presenting symptoms, then there's a high amount or high percentage of the virus in the person's body. So you would expect that at least the lateral flow will pick it up. You know, it has a high chance of being picked up by it, but it didn't. So yeah, there we go. With a self-testing kit, you know, the onus is on the person to make sure that they swab, you know, they get they swab where they're supposed to swab and get a good sample. My colleague is trained on how to take a swab test, and he knows the importance, as do all of us, the importance of making sure that you do it right. So I don't think any of them, you know, would have been careless or would have not. I mean, I know the swab is quite uncomfortable to do, but they would make sure that they've taken a good sample. So I can't say that maybe they did not have a good swab, or they didn't do the swabbing properly, so hence, you know, the negative results they were having. Based on this, I thought maybe, why not, let's do this together. We should check the viability of the lateral flow test. I mean, why not?
2,000 years later.
So there was a joint test by Proton Down and University of Oxford to you know, there was a test. Did I say a test? What I mean is that there was a trial conducted on this lateral flow. This trial shows that the lateral flow, I think, why don't we have a look at it on my computer? Instead of me reading it to you, and I should try to link it up in the video as well if you're interested in reading about it. Yeah, so let's do this by having a look together. Yeah, let me grab the camera. Okay, so this is the preliminary report from that trial. This is the trial where the lateral flow device was tested. So according to this preliminary report from Proton Down and Oxford University, published November 2020, which you can see at the top there. That's November 8th of November 2020. Okay, so basically it says the national governments and international organizations, including the World Health Organization, have highlighted the importance of testing and subsequent contact tracing to halt the chain of transmission of SARS-CoV-2, the virus responsible for COVID-19. So the current gold standard diagnostic procedure involves reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction. That is the PCR test. Is specialized in specialized laboratories, but I mean, this is a pandemic, and in order to test a lot of people, they will need to come up with what should I say? There was a need to have a test that is quick, that is fast, and doable within a short time, because with the PCR test, it has to be taken to the laboratory to be done by lab technicians. Secondly, how many labs can you have to be able to test the, the whole world. Everybody needs to test. Everybody needs to be tested. So that's how this lateral flow had to come about, to be able to help with the huge amount of people that needs to be tested. So I'll link this in the description box, so you can read about it if you want to, or if you have the time. So well, this is basically the test, and it tells you how it was done, etc. So what I am interested in, quite quickly, because I don't want this video to become a huge I don't want this to be too long. So in the conclusion, where is it? And I read, to date, the performance characteristics of the Innova lateral flow device in the evaluations performed to date are good, with a low failure rate, high specificity 99.6%, and high viral antigen detection. So in effect, it's trying to tell us that there's a very low failure rate. The possibility of it failing is very low, and high specificity of 99.6%, which means that it can detect the antigen quite efficiently. Well, and a high viral antigen detection, it says, and there's, so let's have a look at the British Medical Journal. Okay, so this is the British Medical Journal, and if we scroll down to start with, this is the COVID-19 safety of lateral flow test. This was published in December. This was published 4th December 2020. And according to the British Medical Journal, which you can read for yourself, well, however, according to this report by the British Medical Journal, lateral flow devices used in the community test pilot in Liverpool picked up half the COVID-19 cases picked up by the polymerase chain reaction, which is the PCR. So it's saying that let's say, for instance, no, actually, we don't need, for instance, where is this thing? So this is what it says. The lateral flow device used in the community testing, the lateral flow, picked up half the COVID-19 cases detected by the polymerase chain reaction, by the PCR tests. So, let's say we have a PCR test. Let's say you tested 100 people. The PCR test was able to pick up that all these 100 people were, let's say, for instance, negative, but or positive, but the lateral flow device used was able to only pick up half of that, meaning that maybe they found half to be negative and half to be positive, which means that it wasn't consistent with what this one is able to pick up. And the PCR tests have been shown to be of a very high specificity. So and if this one says it is, that it should be able to pick up the antigen easily. It's not able to, it doesn't have a high antigen detection. So therefore, anyway, it went on to say that it also missed 3 out of 10 cases with very high viral loads. Now, when you say viral loads, which means that they have very high amount of the virus in their system, so it should be easy for the test to pick up. Just like my colleague was showing a high, showing symptoms, very so which means that he did have high viral presence in his body, but the lateral flow was not able to pick that up. So yeah, okay, now if we look down here, from here, it says that it says an earlier assessment of the Innovo test by Public Health England's Porton-Down Laboratory and the University of Oxford found out overall sensitivity of 76.8%, but said that sensitivity dropped to 58% when carried out by self-trained members of the public. So, I mean, this is the evidence of lateral flow not being I don't know what word to use, but this shows you the level of efficacy of the lateral flow test. So the lateral flow test is not really like its efficacy is not as high in detecting the antigen like the PCR would. So yeah, so I mean, for me, that explains why my colleague was getting the false negative. So it seems I did not press play for the conclusion part of this video. I realized that when I came to editing. So I just jump in here to conclude this video. So from what I have presented, by no means am I saying that lateral flow is not a good device. I'm just literally presenting the facts of what is out there. Lateral flow is a good device. It's essential. It's very important, and I think we are very lucky to have it. I'm saying that because it does take over a year for such devices to be manufactured and tested, etc., before it's put on the market. I know COVID has challenged scientists a lot in this era, and I think scientists have rised up to this challenge, and we have to say kudos to them. But I'm just really presenting the facts of things out there. I am trying to investigate why we had the the false negatives that we had, and that led to this. And I think it's exciting. This information, all this information are out there for us to access, and it's fun to find things like that out, and then that gives you explanation and gives you the background, and it answers the why. So that's basically what I was trying to do here. So I'm not saying I'm not bashing lateral flow. I'm not saying it's not a good device. It is. How else can we test mass amounts of people? I mean, this is a pandemic. It's a global thing. For us to be able to detect it, there's got to be other means of doing a rapid response, a rapid thing to use, rather than this PCR, which is which is very, very good and efficient in what it does, but it takes time, and you need people in the lab to do it. You can't always have that resource And there are some places in the world that you can't just go up and be setting up a laboratory to do these things. So I think personally that lateral flow is an amazing thing. Okay, so like I said, I think lateral flow is it's a good device. Now, moving forward, and as time goes on, there are still research going on, and there will be improvements to it, I'm sure, because every day data is being generated, data is being collected, and things are improved. So lateral flow can offer us a lot of convenience. You know, just imagine you're going to board a plane and you know that everybody in the plane have had to do a lateral flow that day to ensure that they have a negative test results before they are able to get on the plane. At least you know that in that enclosure, everybody there that day tested negative to COVID, rather than a PCR test that may have taken place 2 or 3 days ago. And us knowing the incubation period of COVID, you know, so this is just my opinion, and I thought I'd share it with you. This video is already too long. It's longer than I was expecting. It's longer than I had planned. Not that I really planned, but I just couldn't sleep and I had to do this video. So I think I will end here, and I just want to say thank you so much for listening to me, and also thank you for being out there. Also keep safe out there, and thank you very much for tuning in to my YouTube channel, and I hope to see you again. So until then, bye for now.